Have you ever felt like the more you share with your family, the more complicated things become? What begins as a desire for closeness and connection often ends up tangled in a web of emotions, expectations, and opinions. It's a reality many of us face after 65, and it's not because our families don't care. It's simply that love over time gets intertwined with everything else. The more you open up, the more others feel they have a say in your choices, and that can lead to unexpected pressures. For years, I believed that complete honesty was the best way to stay close to my family. I thought, if I share everything with them, they'll know I trust them. But I learned something powerful with time. Not every truth needs to be shared. Not because it's wrong to hide anything, but because peace in your later years is something you deserve to protect. After all you've been through, you've earned the right to a peaceful, quiet life. In this video, I want to have a conversation with you. No lectures here. About 5 things I've learned should be kept to yourself after 65. Not out of secrecy, but out of wisdom. If you've ever felt emotionally drained after being too open with your family or found yourself wishing you had said less, this message is for you. And if you're new to this community, welcome. We're creating a space where seniors can find calm, dignity, and strength as they embrace this season of life. Let's dive in. Secret 1, your exact financial situation. Now I can hear you already. We've been told to be open and transparent with our families to avoid surprises down the road. I used to believe that too. I thought if I shared every detail about how I've saved, how my finances were structured, and my plans for the future, I'd be protecting everyone from future confusion. After all, being honest seems like the best way to show love and trust, right? But here's the reality. The moment you open up that financial door, everything changes. Sometimes it happens slowly, and other times it's immediate. Let me tell you about George, a man who at 80 had spent a lifetime managing his finances wisely. He was a retired architect with a calm demeanor, a logical mind, and a heart full of warmth. A few years ago, thinking it would bring him and his family peace of mind, George sat down with his 2 grown children and shared everything. His bank accounts, his pensions, his plans for his estate, and his hopes for the future. He even printed spreadsheets to make sure everything was crystal clear. He expected gratitude, he expected relief, but what he got instead were questions, lots and lots of questions. "Dad, are you sure you want to keep living in this big house? Shouldn't you sell it and move somewhere more manageable?" One of his children asked. "What's your plan for long-term care? Have you thought about a nursing home?" Another child suggested, "Maybe I should move in with you to help with your finances." It was all said with concern and love. But over time, George began to feel like he was no longer in charge of his own life. Every decision, no matter how small, seemed up for discussion. Should you really be flying? Is a new couch really necessary? Even the most innocent purchases came with scrutiny. The hardest part for George wasn't that his children didn't care. It was that their care became overwhelming, and it stripped him of his independence. The truth is, once you open that door, it's almost impossible to shut it again. Even the most well-intentioned family members can overstep without even realizing it. And in less fortunate situations, people who have been distant suddenly show interest in your finances. Not you, but your money. That cousin who hasn't called in years suddenly wants to know about your will. A grandchild who never sent you a card is now asking about your property. I'm not suggesting that planning ahead isn't essential. Of course, it is. It's wise to have a will, a durable power of attorney, and a trusted person to handle your affairs if you become unable to. But sharing the full picture of your finances prematurely can invite unwanted pressure. Suddenly, you're no longer in control of your own choices. They are being made with you, or worse, for you. Privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is protection. You don't owe anyone your bank account numbers. You don't need to explain why you bought a new TV or why you donated to a cause that's important to you. Your money is the result of years of hard work and personal sacrifice. The person most qualified to decide how to use it is you. Protect your peace by sharing only what's necessary when the time is right and with people who truly respect your boundaries. Because once your finances are on the table for family discussion, you might find yourself justifying decisions that no one else should be judging. Secret 2, health details. Now let's talk about something that feels so natural to share: our health. As we get older, our bodies start to show wear. The knees creak more than they used to, sleep becomes elusive some nights, and there are days when we just don't feel like ourselves. It's normal, and when we love our families, it's natural to want to share these experiences with them. We think, they care about me, so they'll want to know, and often they do. But here's something we often overlook: how our health updates are processed on the other end. When we casually mention, "My back's been bothering me again," or "I felt lightheaded the other morning," we might think of it as simple small talk. But to your children or grandchildren, those words carry a lot of weight. They love you, and out of that love, they may react not just with concern, but with overreaction. What feels like a passing discomfort to you can become a red flag to them. And suddenly, they may start seeing you in a different light. Let me tell you about Martha, a vibrant 74-year-old who's still active and independent. She enjoys gardening, walking her dog, and even volunteers at the local senior center. One afternoon, after a long day of gardening, she casually mentioned to her son that her lower back was a little sore. Her son's reaction: he panicked. Immediately, he made an appointment for physical therapy, started calling several times a day to check on her, and even suggested hiring someone to help around the house. Martha, of course, appreciated the concern, but she felt something shift. It was as if she was being treated like someone fragile, someone who couldn't care for herself anymore. Over time, her son began making remarks like, "Maybe you shouldn't carry those bags anymore," or "You should let me drive you to the store at night." And Martha, who had always prided herself on her independence, felt like a child in her own life, just because she mentioned her sore back. This is the subtle danger of sharing too much about your health, especially the small, non-urgent details. You're not doing anything wrong by mentioning these things, but you may unintentionally shift how your family sees you. From strong and capable to someone they feel the need to protect. Once that shift happens, it's hard to undo. Don't get me wrong. If there's something serious happening, if there's a diagnosis that truly affects your daily life, it's crucial to share it. Your family should be involved, and you deserve their support when you truly need it. But every little ache, every tired morning, every sleepless night, you don't have to broadcast every detail. Think of it like this: constantly sharing can sometimes create a story that doesn't align with how you actually feel. You might be mostly fine, but your loved ones may start seeing you as deteriorating faster than you really are. That can lead to them stepping in and taking over decisions for you, which limits your independence. And over time, that can be exhausting, not just for you, but for your family relationships. You've lived in your body long enough to know when something's serious and when it's just part of aging. Trust your own instincts, and trust that you don't need to seek validation for every minor health issue. There's also the emotional aspect to consider. Constantly talking about health problems can make you feel like your whole identity is wrapped up in what's wrong with your body. That's not the story you want to tell. You are more than your aches, pains, and discomforts. You are a person full of wisdom, joy, and accomplishments every single day. Don't let every minor discomfort take center stage in your narrative. I'm not suggesting you suffer in silence. Definitely keep track of symptoms, see your doctor, and take care of your health. But when it comes to your family, be intentional about what and when you share. Ask yourself, am I sharing this to feel closer, or am I unintentionally giving away my independence? Because here's the truth: peace in your later years isn't about having everyone worry over you. It's about knowing what matters most to you and choosing when to speak up. That's not denial, it's dignity. Secret 3: family conflicts. Let's talk about something many of us have learned through hard experience: getting involved in family conflicts. By this stage in life, we've seen it all. The arguments, the disagreements, the sibling rivalries, the miscommunications. We've watched children drift apart, relatives feud over money, and old wounds reopen over things we thought were long buried. And as the older generation, we often feel this pull to step in, to mediate, to offer advice, to smooth things over. But here's a hard truth that only time can teach you. The more you speak, the more risk you invite. Especially in family matters, silence isn't a weakness, it's wisdom. Let me share a story about Grace, a wise friend of mine from a knitting group. She's 82 now, sharp and spry, and always the one everyone turns to for advice. One afternoon, during a visit with her son, she made a soft suggestion that her grandson, who was 5 at the time, might start picking up his toys after playtime. Just a casual comment, no pressure, no judgment. Just a simple thought, but her son didn't take it that way. He grew distant, his attitude cold. Gradually, the phone calls became less frequent, the invitations stopped. Grace, who had only wanted to help, found herself wondering how one well-meaning comment could cause such a rift. And sadly, that rift never healed. That's the hidden danger of offering your opinion in the middle of family conflict, or even in situations that seem completely innocent. No matter how gently you speak, people often hear your words through their own emotional filters. What feels like advice to you may come across as judgment to them. You might try to help 2 adult children resolve an argument, only to find both of them feeling like you're playing favorites. You may voice concern about a family member's parenting, and suddenly the relationship starts to crack. You mention that someone always borrows money but never repays, and suddenly you're the one creating division, even if your words are meant with love and support. Here's the principle I've learned to live by. You don't have to take part in every family argument. You don't need to offer your opinion just because you have one. You can love your family without feeling obligated to involve yourself in every disagreement. Sometimes the most powerful words you can say are, "I trust you to work it out," or simply, "I don't want to take sides, but I'm here if you need me." And then let go. Let them find their way. Let them stumble and grow just as you did, by figuring things out for themselves, because let's face it, getting involved in every conflict may feel like the right thing to do at the time, but in the long run, it rarely leads to peace. What brings peace is protecting your emotional space, becoming the steady, calm presence in the midst of turmoil. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've grown enough to understand that not every battle needs your participation. Your role now is to keep your heart steady, not just for them, but for you too. You've lived through enough family drama and misunderstandings to know that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is step back, let them figure it out, and love them from a distance. Because at this stage in life, peace is invaluable. You've earned your wisdom, your patience, and your ability to see things for what they truly are. You've survived enough family holidays, heated arguments, and ill-timed advice to know that stepping back is often the most loving thing you can do. Peace is too precious to give up for anyone, and it's something you've earned. Secret 4, regrets. Let's talk about something that's often quieter than family drama, but heavier than any argument, our regrets. At this stage in life, most of us carry them. Even those who seem content and accomplished are often haunted by a few what-ifs and "I wish I hads." It's part of the human condition. We think about the chances we didn't take, the places we never visited, and the moments we didn't grab onto when we had the chance. And every so often, these memories find their way into conversations with our children, grandchildren, or even just in passing remarks over coffee. But here's something I've come to realize. Not every regret needs to be shared aloud, especially not with the people we love the most. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 78-year-old retired nurse who dedicated years to raising her children while caring for her sick husband. One afternoon, on a quiet walk with her youngest daughter, she casually said, "Sometimes I wish I had traveled more when I was younger." It wasn't meant to be hurtful. It was just a passing thought, a brief reflection. But her daughter took it to heart. Later, she admitted that it made her feel as though her mother's sacrifices weren't enough. That maybe her own life and family hadn't been enough to fulfill her mother's dreams. And that's the tricky thing about regrets. What feels like a natural, honest reflection to us can easily feel like rejection to someone else. We're simply sharing our personal thoughts, but our loved ones often interpret them through their own emotions. When you say, "I wish I had worked harder," they may hear, "You weren't enough." When you say, "I should have moved away," they may feel like you were never happy where they grew up. You're trying to open up, but others may take it personally, even when that was never your intention. There's also the danger of constantly speaking about our regrets. The more we focus on what could have been, the more others begin to view us as someone stuck in the past rather than someone who's still fully present. It might even cause them to pull back, thinking you're always longing for the past instead of enjoying the present. They might treat you like your best years are behind you, even if you don't feel that way at all. Now, let me be clear. Your feelings and regrets are valid. You've lived a full and rich life, and you have the right to reflect on it. But some of these reflections are better kept close to your heart, not because they're shameful, but because they are sacred. Sharing your regrets too freely can unintentionally hurt the ones you love most. So instead of saying, "I wish I had done things differently," try saying, "I've learned so much from the life I've lived." That one small change in wording carries wisdom and growth. It honors your story without burdening others with guilt or sorrow. This is not about pretending that the past was perfect. It's about choosing to frame your life's journey in a way that brings peace. Both to you and those you love, you don't have to hide your feelings. You don't need to pretend to be cheerful all the time. But you do have the right to preserve your emotional space and protect it from unnecessary noise. Remember, peace in your later years doesn't come from rewriting your past. It comes from making peace with it, quietly, with grace, and on your own terms. Secret 5. Asset plans. Let's now turn to the fifth and final secret. Something many feel compelled to share for the sake of fairness or clarity. Your plans for your assets. We've all heard it before. Don't leave your family guessing. Make sure they know what to expect. And while there's truth in that, it's important to proceed cautiously. Having a sound legal plan, a clear will, and someone you trust to manage your affairs is essential, but there's more to it than just being transparent. Here's the piece of wisdom that doesn't get enough attention: the details of how you plan to distribute your assets. Who gets what and how your estate will be divided can sometimes do more harm than good when shared too early or too openly. Let me share a story about Helen. She's 85, a retired nurse who spent her life working hard to save, invest wisely, and be generous. Helen wanted to avoid confusion and make sure everyone was on the same page, so she decided to lay everything out clearly. She told her 3 children exactly how she intended to divide her estate, how the house would be sold, how the accounts would be divided, and even which heirlooms would go to whom. At first, it seemed like the right thing to do, but not long after, things started to change. Her middle daughter, once easygoing, started calling more often with suggestions on how to sell the house, while her son, who lived across the country, questioned why he wasn't getting the same share as his siblings. The youngest, always the quiet one, grew distant, though it was clear he felt uncomfortable with the situation. What began as a well-meaning gesture to keep things transparent quickly turned into a series of misunderstandings and subtle resentment. Helen shared with me, "I felt like they started seeing the inheritance, not their mother." That's the risk when you share your asset plans too openly. What you may think is a helpful, transparent move can unintentionally stir up expectations, jealousy, and division. You might think you're bringing peace, but you're opening a door to unnecessary pressure, comparisons, and tension. And there's another aspect to consider. Once people know your plans, they might start viewing your choices differently. Why are you still living in this large house if it's going to be sold? Why go on that trip now? Shouldn't you save a little more for the grandkids? These aren't always direct questions, but the tension is palpable. The result: your peace begins to erode. Your freedom to enjoy the life you've created starts to feel compromised. Don't get me wrong, you still need a solid estate plan. A will, a power of attorney, and someone you trust to execute your wishes are crucial. But you don't need to turn your retirement into a round-table discussion for everyone to have a say. Your legacy is yours to manage. You don't need to justify how you choose to spend your hard-earned money. Protect your peace and keep your plans to yourself until the time is right. And if someone's only interested in your plans when money is involved, that's a sign you may need to reevaluate your relationships. Are they valuing you or just the things you have? Protecting your asset plans is not selfish. It's wise. It's respectful. It ensures you can enjoy your later years without the burden of judgment or pressure from those around you. So remember this: you've spent your life giving time, love, advice, comfort, but now it's time to protect something else: your peace. Peace isn't a luxury at this stage of life, it's a necessity. Sometimes protecting that peace means keeping some things to yourself, not out of distrust, but because you understand the value of your emotional space. Ask yourself, what truths are truly worth sharing and what are better kept close to your heart? not because they're secrets, but because they are sacred. If this message resonated with you, share in the comments one thing you've decided to keep just for yourself. We read every comment, and your story might help someone else find clarity. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Join our growing community of thoughtful, wise seniors who know that peace is something you protect, one choice at a time. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, take care of your heart, protect your peace, and always remember, you've earned it.